Alright guys, so we're gonna do today just kind of the beginning steps of working with instant coffee. So I have my instant coffee, and what I'm gonna do first is come up with like different ratios of it. So I just have already pushed it into different cups, and I took a big spoonful so that way I can kind of just have an idea. If you don't have cups that have lids, what you can just do is use a Dixie cup and just try to remember your ratio every day, and that will be good. So what I'm doing first is I'm just thinking about different values, right? So I'm gonna have 1 cup that's just water. We're gonna have 1 cup, I'm gonna save the rest. Yeah, that should be good. I'm gonna have 1 cup that's water, and then I did like 1 pinch, 2 pinches, 3 pinches, and 4 pinches. So that way I know. And as I add the water in, I don't need to add a ton. I just need to add some. And note that probably warmer water will work better. And again, if I add too much water, it's definitely gonna dilute everything that I have. So I don't really want to dilute it too much, but I do need it somewhat. So I'm just going to use the back end of my brush as I throw some of it all around. And I'm just going to mix that. If you don't like the smell of coffee, I'm really sorry. To me, it's awesome. So this is smelling like heaven right now. And what you're going to do is you're going to be working on the piece of cardstock. So the cardstock was it's the smoothest piece of white paper that you were given. One side's going to be the back, one side will be the front. So really make sure that your work area is clean. And what we're just going to do is you're going to create like a ribbon. So if you're not sure, I will show you. So I'm just going to do this in like a side. So you're going to just create like a little wave line. And then from there, you're going to think about how a ribbon would fold. So as this one comes up here, then it's gonna come down this way, and it's going to come together right there, and then it's gonna cross back over and end along the other side. And so that I have my ribbon. So what I can do now is I can play with these different types of washes basically that I've created with my instant coffee. So I know that the inside by this is going to be really dark, and so you can see right away, even though my darkest one has the most amount of coffee, you can see that value is really light actually. So probably going to need to add a little bit more coffee to that one, which is why we do these things. So again, you can kind of play with your ratios and see if you notice that, you know, like my 2 and 3 are actually my last 2 are really close together. So I'm gonna now just grab that first one. I want the edges over here to be really light. So then I'm gonna take that through the middle right here. Kind of paint that over. And do a little bit over here as well, along that very far edge. So think about this being kind of like watercolor in this way of, obviously we can water it down with, we can lighten the color with white, good heavens, with water. However, really what we're gonna try to do is not use a lot of water at all and just focus on the coffee. So you can see right now, because I've added a little bit more, it's becoming a little bit darker, which is probably around the color that I would like. So, and again, obviously layers are gonna be, so it's very similar to watercolor, but by adding in those layers, it'll also work really well too. Now the nice thing is, again, if you have something with a lid, or if you have like plastic wrap at your house to cover these, the nice thing is it won't evaporate really as much. which would be really nice because then you can keep using this over and over again. And as some of the water does evaporate, it'll actually become a stronger color, which may not always be a bad thing. So again, you can see I'm kind of just working with all of them right now to blend together to create that ribbon. Because my paper is a little bit wet, it's pretty easy to do that. So I'm going to come back to my dark color. I really would like to find an instant coffee ground. Just really work that in. So in all honesty, I would do a lot more coffee because right now my color is really faint. So consider, like, try to have a good ratio that you can work with. So like, for instance, try to have like a teaspoon or a tablespoon for the darkest, probably like a tablespoon to like maybe a teaspoon of water, and then continue to do a tablespoon or a teaspoon of coffee even, and then just add more water. So that way you keep the mixture consistent with how much coffee, but you can add more or less water depending, to get your different colors. Because obviously, as you can see right now, like I've lost a lot of my dark right here. So I'm just gonna let that dry at this point in time, and just try to, you know, like I'll work on something else. So what I might wanna try to do right now is, again, like I'm thinking about a value scale, right, with that one. So that's my darkest. This is my less concentrated. And you can see that they're almost similar, like they look really close. This is my second to lightest one. Make sure my brush is clean. And then my final color. So you can see my last one is actually a really good ratio right now because you can hardly see it. It's a really nice light. I mean, there's still a good gradient there, but I would probably make my darkest color. I would probably go in and create another one. Let's try this. I'm gonna do one more, and I'm gonna, because I can control this one a little bit better. So I just added the tiniest amount, and honestly, this may not even work enough. I might actually have to add more water in. So that had just, you saw how much water, so let's see what that value does now. Yeah, there we go. So this one is definitely a lot thicker. So I probably might add just a smidge more water because otherwise it might turn into like a sludge. We definitely don't want that. Oof, as it gets on my brush even. It is clumpy. There we go. So if I take some of that color then, and I work that in to my ribbon, right along where my dark side is. So you can see how that's working much better. Now I'm gonna take that other color that I had. I'm gonna work this. I have a piece of instant coffee stuck. So I haven't added any more water. I'm just simply now working out those colors together, taking that lightest one now, and now you can start to see that that really has created some nice depth for that ribbon. So I'm gonna repeat the same thing on the other side. Still some of the lightest. So when you start to create your different types, your different colors of instant coffee, I would think about having maybe 4 or 5. I would not do any more, and I probably wouldn't do any less than 4, because that'll be able just to give you a nice range of values. Once you figure out, again, your back piece of paper is going to be more for practice, so figure out your different value scales. What I might try to do here is add a little bit more instant coffee to my second darkest one now. So that way I have a really light, a middle, like 2 middles basically, and then 2 darker values, whereas right now I just have this one really dark, and the rest of these, as they're drying, they kind of all look the same. So I do want to try to fix that. So what I might do, that has a lot of water. So I might take some of my sludge color and just add a little bit of it, or maybe even combine these two. So that way I can get just, I might go back down to 4. So if I do that, throw some of that one in there. And I'll probably throw some of it in that one as well. So then I'm gonna drop down to 4 colors. And if I look at this, now this is gonna have a lot of water, so I'm actually gonna let that evaporate overnight a little bit. But you can see that that actually now is lighter than what it was. And let's check this one that I had. And now that's really light as well. So again, it's gonna be a little bit of a playing, so that's why you're gonna use the back of your cardstock paper. And then when we finish, we will talk about the front.